And we got a lot to talk about today, man. We got the Metal Allegiance album coming out. I think next month is when the record releases. And you were a big part of that album. I feel like you're on almost every song on this album. And it's a really
Every song.
yeah, it's a really cool project. I mean, it
Thank
uh
you.
it
Thank you.
it reminds me a lot of like the Roadrunner United album from way back when. It's just like an album of everybody who's everybody is on this album and on this project. How cool is it to
That's
be part of this?
the idea. It's amazing. It's amazing for me. I feel pretty blessed actually because I was brought in as a principal member. Sometimes with these grand visions, you have to be careful because there's so many people involved. But it was really the plan. It was very well planned, and the plan was to have it written by a small core group, as though it's just one small band, and then to pad it with all these extra artists, the different vocalists, the different guest guitarists.
Mm-hmm.
But so even though it's this big collective, it's also just being such a creative voice in it. It feels a lot like a strong individual statement for my guitar playing as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. At what point did you come into the project? Was it one of these things that you were a part of, like the original creative process, or how did all of this come about, really?
Well, I think once it got to the stage of being a planned original project, I was brought in for the guitar department,
mm-hmm.
basically, which meant writing the guitar parts, recording the guitar parts, being the main soloist, but also helping choose and produce the guest soloist. And this all came about less than a year ago. It'll be a year at the end of this month. But before it was an original project, it was like an all-star cover band, a great all-star cover band.
Yeah.
And excuse me one second. There's an emergency vehicle.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Okay, so it was this all-star cover group that I had never gotten a chance to play with because I was always they hadn't done many shows,
mm-hmm.
and it had been brought up, but I was never in the same city at the same time that they were doing the shows. So finally, we were in the same place at the same time. On the motorboat cruise.
Yeah.
And I jammed. I was brought in sort of informally to jam, but it went so well that the guys pulled me aside. Mengi, Portnoy, and Ellison were the core players. Actually, I don't think we talked. I guess they started talking about it around that time while we were still on the cruise. And I probably got a call within a week or two that, hey, we're thinking about this. We're thinking about you as, being our partner with the guitar stuff, And it made a lot of sense. Even though there had been several guitar players involved with the live shows, I think they wanted somebody where, like, none of us had any history.
Right.
I've never been in a band with Dave Ellison. I've never been in a band with Mike Portnoy.
Right.
And there's a lot of bands, where there's tons of overlap. There's members of Megadeth that have been in Testament.
Mm-hmm.
There's members of Slayer that have been in Testament. So on and so forth. It's this perfect combination. We don't have any overlap, so it doesn't look like a new version of any other band.
Mm-hmm.
and also it felt like starting a new band in a way.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, with so many great players involved, it's not a threat to our existing band. It's really this new combination of players, and of course, we're trying to capturing the spirit of the live shows, which is all this familiar material, and there is familiarity on the album. There's some moments that may be reminiscent of great moments by whether it's Black Sabbath or Maiden or Priest, but it's also it doesn't sound too much like any one thing.
Right. Right. And is with a project like this, is this something that there's a possibility for maybe more music, more albums in the future, or was this maybe just like a one-time thing? Because I know that obviously, the project has done shows in the past.
I think so. I think it would definitely at this. Given what has happened, I think it would absolutely make sense to do more music. I think when we first started, we didn't know what to expect.
Right.
I think one of the most important elements in the creative process in music, or probably any other art as well, is just having an instinct about what's working and what's not working, and accepting that you can't plan too much.
Right.
You can make these grand plans and say, "Oh, this, here's how things are going to work out. We're going to get this group of people. It's going to be this great." But most of the time when you plan things too much, it doesn't work out that well. It really just became this whim. Hey, we have a feeling that if we all sit in a room and spend a week together at Mike Portnoy's house, that maybe we'll come up with some material for an album.
Right.
And it ended up, I think at that time, we weren't even sure if it, we were looking at a whole album of originals. We thought, maybe we'll do some covers, but it'd be nice to add a few originals. But once we got together, we were just on fire, and we couldn't stop creating music. The next thing you know, we have this whole album of originals.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, I mean, it's...
I don't remember at what point it was where we just said, what, screw the covers. It's going to be an original band.
I mean, it turned out insane. I mean, it's just there's not one song a filler on the album. It's just, I mean, and you can imagine that it would be that way with how good the lineup is. But I mean, the album itself is just
I think insane. That was just a result of letting the process happen.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. I don't think any of us knew what to expect.
Right.
Well, my highest profile thing that I'm known for is Testament. Mm-hmm. But when I play outside of Testament, it's usually with musicians from different genres.
Right.
That's my chance to work with musicians that are, full-time jazz artists and most recently world music artists. And I figure, Testament, that's enough metal for me.
Right.
I haven't felt the need to do some other metal project. I didn't know what it would be like, but it turns out we do have a lot of common influences. We all love the same those first two Ozzy albums.
Mm-hmm.
We love those albums. The original Van Halen records, the original Kiss records, the Sabbath record. I mean, everything that got us excited about hard rock and metal, we have that in common. And I think when you get guys that are as experienced as us in a room together, we have all that as reference.
Right.
And it sounds good. And also I think without the pressure of having a designated lead singer, and like what's that person comfortable with, and hey, that's out of my range. We could really go anywhere with it, and we could say, I could hear so and so on this song. I could hear so and so on this song.
Mm-hmm.
This one we should think about a female voice on this. So we didn't have those restrictions of it being written around one individual.
Right.
And I think that helped the process.
Yeah, and next year, because we got to talk about the Axes and Anchors cruise. I mean, it's it seems there's so many cruises out there now every year. It seems like, but this one is really cool because, of course you're on it, but I mean, it feels like this is like the Guitar Gods cruise. I mean, Zach Wilde's on it, Yngwie's on it, Shanker's on it, you're on it. I mean, this is a hell of a lineup for this cruise. How did you come to be a part of this cruise? And I mean, I know that I think you're doing a workshop on the cruise as well as performing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got approached by I was told there's going to be a cruise based around the guitar.
Right.
Yeah, there may be some bands, some rock bands as well, but the main idea is it's the guitar, and several of the guitarists are going to be doing workshops as well. And I immediately thought, that's a really good idea. Nobody's done that yet.
Right.
And then they told me, so far we have Yngwie, Zach Wilde,
mm-hmm.
and we'd like to have you too for our initial announcement.
Nice.
That works for me. Sign me up.
Right.
And then they said, we're bringing in Michael Schenker. And then I said, oh, wow, that's, doubly sign me up. So these are guys, I grew up listening to. So to be sort of, in an announcement with a lineup like this is just unbelievable.
Right. I mean, there's so many cruises. It seems like, I mean, Motorhead's got a cruise, Kid Rock's got a cruise. There's Shipwrecked. There was the Mayhem cruise a few years ago. This is, like you said.
I did the first one, I think, which was 70,000 tons.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
Testament and Exodus did that, and that was when it was a new thing.
Yeah.
And it was really kind of scary, What's going to happen? We're going to lock all these wild child, on a fans and fans on a boat.
Right.
Go out to sea, But it was great. It was like a great experience, and yeah, it's amazing now. They're just popping up left and right. But I've done several.
Right.
The motorboat cruise was great. Metal Allegiance followed that up with the Shipwrecked cruise, which was a little more of a 90s. With bands like Chevelle and Buck
mm-hmm.
Cherry.
Yeah, it's more radio rock bands on there. I think.
Yeah, but we brought the the heavy stuff
mm-hmm.
and the sort of the virtuoso guitar stuff. We did a whole Van Halen tribute.
Nice.
We did the whole first Van Halen record.
Oh wow!
Which was a lot of pressure on me, but it was a blast. And Wolfgang Van Halen. Well, Wolfgang was on the boat playing with Tremonti.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he actually joined us for the first few songs, and it was
nice.
Pretty unbelievable.
Nice. I mean,
But yeah, the cruises are a lot of fun, and I think Axes and Anchors is the first of its kind.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I think it's a great idea. Why not do one geared for musicians? But you certainly won't have to be a musician to enjoy it.
Right. I mean, there's so many bands. I mean, Motionless is on there, Flyleaf, Thousand Foot Crutch. I mean, Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah. So it's got a good balance too. I think it's going to get a lot of fans of those bands.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's also, for fans of guitar, I think it's going to, there's a lot of players that I think that will enjoy that might not have gone to the more rock band oriented cruises.
Right. And I mean,
there's such an emphasis on the guitar and the workshops and the musicianship.
Right, and with how many cruises are out there now, do you feel like it's important to have something like Axes and Anchors where it's all geared towards, geared towards guitar instead of having it be it's another cruise with a bunch of bands and a great lineup? Because I feel like it's almost getting a bit oversaturated almost with how many cruises there are, but this one's very specific.
Yeah, well, I think this one is different, brings something different to the table. And again, I think it's going to bring a slightly different crowd.
Yeah.
The crowd I've seen on some of these cruises, especially Shiprock and 70,000 Tons, they would not be interested in a lecture on music theory and
right.
Guitar patterns. But I think this one, it's going to have that element, but it is going to have the fun, rock and roll element for those that are interested in that. And I also think that one of the reasons you're seeing so many of these cruises is because they're fun for everybody.
Right. Right. At the beginning of the year, in the winter time.
Concert, maybe. Yeah, I mean, not everybody. I think you're getting a lot of. Yeah, whereas rock typically used to be marketed purely to the youth demographic.
Right.
And that's why you would just see such a sense of ageism in rock. A band is too old by the time they're 30, for example.
Yeah. And
now the audience has grown a lot, but a good portion of the audience has grown up. They're not they're not kids anymore, but they're still they still like the music and they're still listening to music. And many of them are married to people that might not want to be dragged to a concert with a mosh pit and where they're sort of trapped.
Right.
But you can bring your whole family to a show like on one of these cruises, and they can watch a concert or they can choose not to.
Mm-hmm. They
can lounge on the sun deck. They can go, they can stay in the cabin. They can just enjoy the buffet. So I think it's a little bit like what happened to, Las Vegas.
Right.
Las Vegas used to be this terrible place for families. It was all about, gambling, smoking, just purely about vice. And it's, you certainly still have that, but, it became this very family-friendly place. And now you go there and there's shows, there's off-Broadway shows, there's shops, there's it's a place you can take families. So I think the cruises really represent that for music, particularly heavy music.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. So after the Metal Allegiance album releases, I can imagine lots of press leading up to that album. After that releases, what's the rest of the year look like for you? I mean, we only got 4.5 months left in the year. So maybe some more work with Testament coming up possibly, or just taking the rest of the year off after Metal Allegiance to get ready for Axes and Anchors.
Yeah, it's non-stop, actually. The year's flown by.
Yeah, it has.
Basically, we wrote this album over the winter break.
Okay.
I forget if it was before Christmas. I think it was right after Christmas. I think between Christmas and New Year's. And then we had another session in January just to button things up and write a few. The remaining tunes were written then. We played Shiprock in February. Went straight into the studio to begin that process. And big chunk of my life actually was Metal Allegiance.
Man.
In the studio and just getting it together, producing singers. This is the first record I got to play all the foundation too.
Right.
Even though with Testament I write a lot of the riffs, Eric's the main riff guy. He's the main rhythm guy, so that's usually him you're hearing with the rhythms. But in this case, I'm doing the foundation, so it was a lot of work. And then Testament had a big touring season right after that.
Yeah.
So no sooner do we finish the record by around April, but Testament hit the road with Exodus in the U.S.
Yeah.
And then we were just in Europe for 5 weeks, with playing a lot of festivals, with a lot of them with Metallica for the first time.
Nice.
And we have a bunch of one-offs, but we're Testament is buckling down now.
Okay.
And I just spoke to the guys, and we're we did have some writing. Eric and I had some writing sessions last year.
Okay.
And a lot of that stuff I think is going to be used on this record.
Okay.
I know he's been working on more stuff. We have these one-off shows coming up. We're doing Heavy MTL. We're doing Riot Fest. And we're doing Loud Park in Japan.
Nice.
So in between, we're going to be taking the new stuff, the new music to the next steps, and we're gonna get this record done.
Okay.
I think we're actually going to attempt to have it at least recorded by the end of the year.
Awesome.
Probably. That's what it's looking like. I hate to put times on it because every time that happens, it gets quoted.
It never
and then it never
pushed back.
Matches up.
Right. Then the fans are pissed.
But anyway, so that's happening, and then Metal Allegiance is doing shows here, and we have a big album release show. It's September. That's been announced at the Best Buy. We have some other shows too. I'm not sure if they've been announced yet.
Okay.
But there's shows here and there. They're spread out. We haven't done any full touring. I'm not sure if it's going to be a touring entity or more of a one-off entity.
Right.
And it depends. We're still figuring out whether we want to try to do every show as a grand extravaganza, which we're definitely doing for the release show. But given everybody's schedules, I mean, even the core members. I mean, between myself with Testament, Ellison, and Megadeth.
Yeah.
Portnoy with Winery Dogs. It's that's difficult enough to work around, but then you've got all the vocalists.
Oh, yeah.
And then we want to try to have at least one guest guitarist for the show too. So so it's tough, but I think the excitement around it is great. So I think we'll find a way to make it work. Awesome. And then in between, I'm still doing instrumental stuff. I just got done touring with Stu Hamm, great bass player, and have some music recorded from my jazz trio that I'm planning to release sometime, probably early next year.